It is widely known throughout the horse racing industry that the gentleman I'm about to introduce you to is the only person to ever be issued a ruling by the stewards for winning. He is a man ahead of his time. 15 years ago, before anyone had ever heard of the DRF ticket maker, he was putting together sequences of wagers through the ABC D&E format that wound up taking down pick sixes before anyone knew what DRF ticket maker was. He is an innovator. He is an expert. I dubbed him several years ago the architect for his ability to build tickets and cash them. I'm about to introduce you to Steve Leving, a person who's very familiar to night school fans throughout the country for his several appearances on the show as a panelist in the chat room. Now we have Steve via video to talk all about putting together Pick Six tickets. And Steve, Pick Six, jackpot wager, big dollars, potential to hit the big one and score. It's more than just handicapping, though. In fact, putting the actual ticket together is probably more important.
Handicapping is the least important thing, but I would like to say that was quite an introduction. Thank you. Yeah, that is what I've always espoused. The handicapping part is the least important thing, if I may. If we were to hypothetically pick 1,000,000 races with the idea being to solely pick the winner, with a sample that large, would you be any better than me? Would I be any better than you? I would contend that anybody that reaches a level of competency would then have a difference that's only infinitesimal. Having said that, if you would agree with this hypothesis, then it's the way you bet as opposed to who you bet. Because we know that on any given day, I might have the right day. On any given day, I might have the wrong day. The important thing is when people go to the racetrack, is this going to be the last day you do this? Is this going to be the last bet you make? You're going to keep doing this. So it's important to bet correctly. It's important to be a competent handicapper. But it's been my experience that people don't put enough emphasis on how to wager as opposed to on who to wager on.
When you have a Pick Six jackpot in front of you, let's say it's $300,000 carryover in Southern California, and you get the past performances and the 6-race sequence for those races involved in this Pick Six, how do you go about attacking it? How do you go about handicapping the horses? How do you decide which races you need to spread in and which races you need to have an even stronger opinion?
As far as which races that you need to spread in, oddly enough, when you watch these wagers as they evolve through the course of the running on any individual basis, you can see sometimes a lobster will come in and you just know that was a spread race, that people didn't define that race as, okay, it's between these two or these three, after which. So sometimes you can actually have a 6 or 7 to 1 shot that has more of an impact on making it a big payout than some horse at 20 to 1, just because of the kind of race. Maiden claiming 30-11 horses, and you can't decipher who's going to win. As far as how to plot it out, it's simply this way. Let's say you're betting a daily double. In the first race, you like the 1. In the second race, you like the 1 and the 2, but you like 1 more than 2. You make a $10 1-1. You make a $5 1-2, because your money in this instance is saying you like 1 more than 2. So you're weighting your wager in accordance with your handicapping opinion, which people will always have handicapping opinions similarly. If you were designing a Pick Six ticket in a multi-race wager like that, how do you designate the importance of one horse over another? It's not by a dollar amount, because you're not going to attempt to hit the Pick Six twice and divide the pool with yourself. You're not going to do that. You're going to have more combinations to increase your chances of hitting it once. Resultantly, you like Secretariat, you like Sham second, you like Our Native third, you like True Night fourth. So you're supposed to bet more money on Secretariat than Sham. You're going to bet more money on Sham than Our Native. You're going to incorporate these horses in your ticket in case the saddle slips on Secretariat to provide for every contingency. So as a consequence, in the first leg, your primary horse, which would be Secretariat, let's say he gets beat. Well, you kind of have to hit the ball in the fairway on your next shot or on some subsequent shot, because consider this. you have X number of dollars to spend on the pick six. And you know that in this wager, it's a game where the sharks do eat the minnows. The person who bets the most amount of money is going to be the person that has the greatest probability of winning. However, if you are boxing, you go, give me 1, 2, 3 with 1, 2, with 1, with 1, 4, 5, and you box and buy one ticket. That means you're going to be betting equal dollar amounts as soon as you say, give me the 1, 2, 3 with. Now you're saying you like Secretariat, Sham, and Our Native equally, but you don't. So you need to deconstruct the original box ticket into a series of multiple tickets whereby which you're emphasizing the horses that have particular strengths within the sequence. So it takes a computer program to do it. Your handicapping is your handicapping. You plug the numbers in, and the computer program will tell you what you told it to tell you. As a result, sometimes the magic works, sometimes it doesn't. You still have to pick the winners. So, next question.
How do you go about separating, and I know you use, in many cases, A, B, and C, in some cases even D and E, but how do you separate your A's from your B's? I mean, obviously there's a handicapping process. When you put together a pick six ticket, are you the chief and you have investors, or do you hire people to handicap the races along with yourself and come up with a consensus opinion? That seems to be the most difficult part. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians, not enough investors. I think there has to be one loud voice opinion and maybe some smaller voice opinions.
Yeah, there can be only one captain of this ship. With me, I can't really be egomaniacal about the process of the selecting process. The problem that I found out, if you're going to have a consortium of people and put together money, I'm kind of elected to do everything. The reason is, it seems to me human nature. People like to bet in the last minute at the track. When you try to encourage somebody to come up with a schematic, tell me who you like, put them in the order in which you handicap them. Now, of course, you're used to doing this because you're making a morning line. And somebody like you, okay, but other people, based on their behavior patterns, it doesn't work that way. So it's, if you want to take a ride, like I say, sometimes the magic works, in which case you can hit. Sometimes it doesn't. The thing about the pick six, you have to have the financial wherewithal to be able to bet a significant dollar amount, lose, and then bet again the next day. Because, look, if you bet $100 and I bet $1,000, in real terms, my chances are 10 times greater to hit this thing than you. Also, I need to be, or we, if there's a consortium, need to be in a position to win on a ticket that you couldn't afford to buy. If I'm betting the same dollar amount, I don't want to incorporate all the same horses because people will gravitate to the favorites. The more money that you bet, the more lesser horses that you can include to separate you from the rest of the world. As a result, it's important to do that.
Do you ever look at a pick six sequence and say to yourself, I absolutely hate this sequence, whether it's too many horses that are a big price or too many favorites that you think can win? And are there some pick sequences that you look at that have that perfect balance of, we should be able to get an A here, we should be able to get an A here, and we should be able to spread in these races with a decent chance to hit a long shot? Because obviously you want to be one of the few tickets that wins. Isn't that the goal?
Every wager that you make, you can tailor to fit your specific point of view on that day. Insofar as I've had people say, maybe we shouldn't bet today and wait till tomorrow. I'll never agree with that because I don't know if a tomorrow is going to come. So, in addition, how many times has it happened where even though you didn't have a great opinion on the race, you nonetheless wound up doing very well on that race, even though you doubted the strength of your opinion? Also, there is always no time like the present. What are you going to do? Lose money? That's something you're just going to get more of anyway. So you can't be afraid to lose. There are some trainers that are afraid to run and they don't want to enter. You can't be afraid to enter. You can't be afraid to run. You can't be afraid to lose. So, one time I was asked the question, how many horses, and I think you had something to do with this, how many horses do you need in order to think it's a good idea to make a superfecta bet? And people had their answers. Well, I need 8 horses because, and this whole thing about value, no. I need 4 horses to make a superfecta bet. And as far as value goes, there's no value in picking losers. As far as the pick 6 goes, doesn't matter what the parimutuel odds are. And in the pick 6, you're not attempting to search out. You can't make something win because you perceive this as having more value. And remember, Temperance Hill, he paid $100 when he won the Belmont Stakes, something like that. But he wasn't Temperance Hill until after he won the Belmont Stakes. We have many times predicted it a priori in advance of this occurrence. So with handicapping, today you had a horse that won. It paid 15 to 1. It's a $32 horse. Great. Guess what? Tomorrow I'll have it. The next day that guy will have it. So all that stuff about, who picks them and whatnot, as long as there's a level of competence, if we can strategize our way to make the most sense out of the wager, to get the biggest bang for your buck, like I said, you have X number of dollars to spend. How should you spend them? If I am going to invest $3,000 of my money and your money into a pick 6 wager, I'm not going to simply box them because it just doesn't make any sense. I can spend the $3,000 for what you would spend $15,000 to box as far as the number of horses go. Now, it won't be a complete box. That's where handicapping does come in. It has to mean something because we know that it does mean something. The results aren't that of a lottery. It's not random. So, as a result of all that, if you can make any sense of that without showing you any hard copy physical output, you just have to understand the ideology.
One final thought. Someone that likes the pick 6, that wants to play the pick 6, that doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of money to work with, stay out, try to find partners, try to leverage your bet using the A, B, C, D, E, and F method. What's your suggestion to them?
Well, clearly if I was planning on making a pick 6 and my funds were limited, even if they were or weren't, if you wanted to be my partner, I would gladly put my money with yours because the more tickets we could buy, the better the chance we would have to win. This is not something you need to be selfish about. You always want to bet as much as you possibly can. The fact is, if you don't have a large dollar amount to spend because you want to bet equal to or greater than the largest bettor or betting consortium, because you don't want to be second to anybody. So you have to try to accomplish this. If you can't, maybe you should consider other wagers as opposed to a pick 6 wager.
I personally can tell you, he and I have hit pick 6 wagers together. His method is the best I've ever seen. If you're going to be interested in playing the pick 6, get a partnership together, learn the correct method, take your time, balance your horses, rate them from A, B, C, D, E, and F all the way down, put together tickets that make sense, and take a swing for the fences.